We will be happy together because of the baby. Karen, who's the bride and my sister-in-law, was completely on cloud 9 since her wedding is super elite. Announcing proudly on the microphone that it's a shotgun wedding is quite bold. But then...
But there isn't a baby in your belly, Auntie.
My 5-year-old daughter, who handed flowers to her aunt as a flower girl, said so curiously. Immediately, Karen started trembling with panic. The attendees were stunned, not knowing what it was all about, but the family members were shocked as well. We were shocked because we all know that this child has a mysterious power. I am Emily, a 32-year-old full-time housewife. I've been married to my childhood bud, Tom, for 6 years. We have a happy married life with our 5-year-old daughter, Catherine. My mother-in-law is a kind person, and I thought we got along reasonably well, but I've always had a hard time with my sister-in-law, Karen. She speaks her mind without considering others' feelings. There's no word like restraint in her dictionary. And because of that, I got hurt. A lot.
Emily, you don't look that great. At least tidy up a bit. Your hair's a mess and you don't wear makeup. It's unattractive.
I don't like heavy makeup and I think basic touch is enough.
Well, considering your looks, it's no surprise you ended up with an unimpressive guy like my brother.
I was already getting angry with the way Karen was talking down to me, and now she was belittling her own brother. You don't need to go that far. Tom has never said anything bad about you, and he only thought of you as his precious sister.
Oh, did I hurt your feelings? I'm just an honest person and can't keep my thoughts to myself. Anyway, I would never marry someone as low as you.
Being honest is entirely different from saying whatever you like without considering others' feelings. To be honest, saying that I don't want to go to my husband's family home because of Karen is not an exaggeration at all. But good news arrived this year. Karen was getting married. I was delighted, thinking that I'd feel more relaxed visiting the in-laws once she moved out. A few days later, a wedding invitation arrived. But there was a note saying they also wanted our daughter to attend. Karen was always snarky whenever they met. The fact is, my daughter has had a mysterious power since she was a child. The relatives know about her power due to various shocking events. One instance was at a relative's memorial service. Catherine predicted that my uncle's family would have an accident on their vacation at the beach. Unfortunately, my cousin, a primary school kid, nearly drowned, causing a huge commotion. Another time, my mother-in-law couldn't remember where she put her husband's watch. Catherine approached her and said,
"Grandma, are you looking for Grandpa's watch?"
And it was precisely where she said it would be. Such incidents like this happened frequently. Karen doesn't attend family gatherings, so she doesn't know about my daughter's mysterious power, but she laughed out loud when she heard about it from her parents.
There's no way such ridiculous stories are true. You're just brainwashing that child, probably trying to make profit on social media or something.
That's not our intention. Catherine really did predict those events. Then Karen exclaims, and glared at the little girl, yelling at her.
You're just a child. If you try to trick adults, you'll get punished.
Because of Karen, who was unabashed, not just with adults, but also with children, the little girl, having been scolded for no apparent reason, began to cry out of fear. It was yet another reminder of why I didn't want to get involved with Karen. However, I wondered who would want to marry such a woman. When I asked my husband, he said her fiancé is a wealthy heir. They apparently met at a mixer, and thanks to Karen's aggressive approach, their relationship developed, and Karen even proposed to him. But when they went to greet his parents, they weren't really happy about them, and they opposed their marriage. My husband said he didn't know the exact reason. I bet Karen said something that offended his parents. That's what I thought, but no one said anything about that. So why did they decide to get married? His parents, who opposed it, initially must have given their consent.
Well, Karen said she was pregnant, so they had no choice but to approve of the marriage.
That made sense. Children often serve as a bond between couples, but I wondered if it was okay for Karen's desires to be fulfilled thanks to a child. Then one day, Karen suddenly came to our house.
There's a birthday party for my fiancé's mother coming up.
Oh, really?
So I want to bring a very nice cake.
I see. I was wondering why she was telling me this, but that's when Karen made an outrageous request.
Make me an exceptionally magnificent cake. Emily, you're good at baking, right?
What? Me?
Yes, of course. I'm terrible at it.
Why don't you just buy a cake from a store?
What? That won't impress his parents. People like you who can't think are so problematic.
I was so taken aback by her attitude that I could hardly believe she was asking me to do her a favor. If she had said something like, "You're good at baking, so please help me," it would have been more understandable. But only Karen could manage to insult someone while asking for a favor. And once she gets started, she won't stop talking.
After all, he comes from an elite, prestigious family.
Oh, I see. It's good that you're marrying into such a nice family.
A beauty like me should be with someone of his caliber. Aren't you envious? Unlike you who married in a rush.
Karen became snarky again, and I did my best to argue back. I'm happy. I'm very content with my life right now.
Yet you always wear cheap clothes. You must be pretending to be happy. What a pity.
I was irritated, but I figured once Karen got married, I wouldn't have to see her and her annoying self as much. I decided to endure it for now and made her a top-quality cake with all my baking skills. Normally, one would let me know how the party went, but I never heard anything back from Karen on how it went. But then again, considering that she's Karen, if something had gone wrong, she would have complained. So no news probably means the cake was a hit. About a month before the wedding, Karen came again, presumably to discuss wedding preparations. Why do I always have a bad feeling when she arrives? Karen wanted my daughter to be a flower girl at her wedding and hand her flowers. Finally, I understood why she invited my daughter. But then Catherine made a sudden ominous statement.
She won't be able to get married.
Hearing that, Karen became furious and started scolding my daughter, shouting,
"Again with the lies, you terrible, horrible girl!"
My daughter was startled and began to cry. I was frustrated with Karen, who doesn't hesitate to speak her mind, even to kids.
So I'd like the flower girl's dress to be pink with lace. Please, don't choose white. I want it to contrast with my wedding dress.
Why are you asking for my daughter? Why don't you ask someone else?
I wanted to ask for a more reliable child, but I couldn't find anyone suitable, so I had no choice but to ask for your daughter.
I was dumbfounded at the audacity of Karen, who talked bad about my daughter yet still wanted her to be her flower girl. Even after Karen left, my daughter looked down. When I showed her a dress I found online, she brightened up, asking,
"Will I get to wear something this beautiful?"
I was relieved. Her mood improved. That night, I told my husband about the incident.
I can't imagine them not getting married at this point, but if Catherine says so, there might be something going on.
I asked Catherine, but she doesn't seem to know the exact details.
Karen has always been a handful. Could you look into it, just to be sure?
I found it unusual for my husband, who rarely speaks ill of his sister, to say such a thing. When I pressed further, I heard shocking stories. Apparently, in middle school, she bullied a friend who started dating a boy she liked, leading that friend to stop coming to school. In college, she dated 3 guys at once, and when that was found out, it caused a major scandal. Her parents always had to clean up after her. Given Karen's history, it wasn't surprising. However, I genuinely wished for Karen to get married, and I hoped these stories weren't true. Still, what my daughter had said and my husband's request made me curious, so I started investigating. I found many shocking facts about Karen, yet everything was based on gossip, with no concrete evidence. I was hesitant to discuss these findings with my husband, especially since I doubted she would admit to any of it. Before I knew it, the wedding day arrived. At the wedding, my sister-in-law wore a simple yet lavish wedding dress. The design accentuated her figure, and she looked genuinely beautiful. She'd be perfect if she just wouldn't talk. I couldn't help but think that, but of course, I didn't voice it out loud. The ceremony proceeded smoothly, and the time came for the flower girl, who was my daughter, to hand flowers to Karen. My daughter, dressed in a frilly pink dress, managed to hand over the bouquet to the bride with a hint of nervousness. Both my husband and I breathed a sigh of relief. Then, after receiving the bouquet, Karen, grabbing the microphone with her cheeks flushed, made a surprising declaration.
I will be happy with the child in my belly. But there's no baby in your tummy, Auntie.
Hearing that, Karen started shaking in shock. While the guests looked puzzled at my daughter's words, a buzz of shock ran through the family seats. Did she lie just to get married?
Is she not pregnant?
They whispered, casting suspicious glances at Karen. The groom's parents stood up, looking furious, and confronted Karen, demanding an explanation. Naturally, they'd do that, as they were initially against the marriage.
She's just lying with a wild imagination. The whole family has always had trouble with her, and she's just trying to harass me now. Everyone, please, don't believe what she says.
Hearing that, my daughter began to cry. Enough! I can't stand to see my daughter get hurt. In my anger, I couldn't help but speak up in front of everyone. Wait a minute, Karen. For a pregnant woman, you seem to know very little about pregnancy. Maybe what my daughter is saying is correct?
Why are you suddenly speaking up like this?
I can't just sit by and watch when you speak terribly about my daughter. Let's really see who's lying. I hadn't intended to reveal what I had found out during the ceremony, but I couldn't stay silent. You claim to be pregnant but haven't been to the clinic, right? So you don't have a maternity health record book, no signs of morning sickness, and despite claiming to be 6 months pregnant, your belly isn't showing. What's going on?
Well, my belly just doesn't show that much.
Anyone can see that your pregnancy is a lie.
Are you telling me you lied about being pregnant just to marry me?
Well, maybe I misunderstood that I was pregnant. It's just hard to admit now that I'm not.
I thought I had to take responsibility. You lied to me. The wedding is off.
But we've come this far. Let's get married.
This is no joke. Making me feel embarrassed in front of everyone? I don't even want to see your face.
Karen, crying, clung to him, but John already made up his mind, and his parents as well.
It's your fault the wedding's off. What are you going to do about it?
A marriage built on a lie wouldn't last anyway.
I'm in trouble without money. I was counting on marrying a rich guy like him.
I've heard you have quite a debt. Is that true?
How do you know about that?
From family and acquaintances, I found out that Karen had accumulated debt supporting a musician she liked. She also spent extravagantly, thinking she'd marry a wealthy man and pay off the debt. But life doesn't always go as planned.
Your daughter ruined the wedding, so you should pay off all my debt.
What are you talking about? You brought this on yourself. The more Karen shouted and screamed, the more she was met with disbelief and disdain from everyone. The groom and his parents, utterly disappointed, announced the cancellation of the wedding. And so, my daughter's prediction, Auntie won't get married, came true. Later, when the lie about the pregnancy was revealed, Karen was reportedly sued for $10,000 in damages by her ex-fiancé. The cost of the wedding, amounting to $30,000, ended up being Karen's responsibility to pay. Plus, with her existing debt of $20,000, she looked utterly hopeless. Following this incident, she was disowned by her parents. Rumor has it that Karen now lives in a run-down apartment, working night shifts and constantly trying to run away from debt collectors. As for me, I'm now enjoying peaceful days, growing even closer to my husband and in-laws. Interestingly, since the wedding debacle with Karen, Catherine has stopped making any prophetic remarks. Perhaps as kids grow, such abilities like hers fade. Nevertheless, I'm happy with that. I look forward to watching my daughter grow and thrive in the years to come.